Hey guys, welcome back to SwissWatchExpo. And in the last couple of years, a lot of brands decided to reissue their iconic and collectible models and decided to kind of like put the new technology into the older cases or the style of watches that they did. And today we're going to discuss the Breitling Navitimer and Omega Speedmaster 57 up here. Welcome back, guys. And Breitling Navitimer and Omega Speedmaster, it's two most iconic chronographs that both was introduced very close to each other in 50s of the last century. And today we're going to talk about two reissues or re-edition or like reviews of those brands on those iconic models. So let's start first with this beautiful Breitling Navitimer model. So this is the re-edition of the 806 reference. The original Navitimer came up in 1952 as the specific watch that was specially made for AOPA Association. It's Aircraft Owners and Pilots Association, and it wasn't available for the public. But in 1959, this watch was also introduced for the public, and it actually came out with the 806 model. And this watch is very, very true to what Breitling originally introduced in 1959. So this watch comes with a similar case. It's 41 millimeter, which at that time was an extremely large watch. That's why it was a pilot's watch, so you can actually see everything going on. But at the time when people was wearing 32, 33 millimeters, 41 millimeter was extremely huge watch with like 22 millimeter lug to lug. That was like very, very big timepiece. So this watch is also coming in 41 millimeter. It's had this beautiful beaded bezel where you can see those highly decorated ending on the bezel, and the bezel is slide ruled, so you can rotate on both sides. What's the most important about it is the design of the dial, because Navitimer is all about the dial. So you have the classic Navitimer logo with the wings. You have this faux patinaed hour markers and hands. It actually looked like it was aged, but the watch actually was introduced in 2018. And the most important thing about the 2019 and Breitling, that they introduced the BO9 movement. It's a manual winding chronograph movement that Breitling designed themselves, and it actually was introduced specifically for like this model that we're looking at. So this is the more improved BO1 movement that they introduced in 2009. There is only difference that the BO9 does not display the date window. And the coolest thing about the re-edition watches, it's how true those brands trying to stay to the original design. Even the case back was engraved exactly the same as you will see on the 806 model from 1959. So very beautiful watch. And if you are a fan of the Navitimer history and you want to get something like truly to the watches from that era, but you don't want to pay as much money or you are afraid of carrying such a vintage timepiece, this is a great model and will be a great addition to your collection, to anyone's collection. But now let's move to the Omega Speedmaster. Also one of the most important introductions in 1950s. Actually, the Speedmaster model came up in 1957 when Omega presented their triumvirate of watches, the Omega Railmaster, Speedmaster, and the Seamaster models, which become absolutely iconic, and Omega still producing them, make a lot of different models, and it's the best sellers in their collection. So what we have up here is the Speedmaster 57. This is not the reissue, this is kind of the look of Omega on their older models and trying to replicate them with like the more recent models. So this is not the specific, like not exactly the same watch that they introduced in 1957, but very, very similar. So the watch that they introduced in 1957 was actually the 38.5 millimeter watch, so a little bit smaller. This watch that I have, it's 44.5, so they make it a little bit more modern in terms of the size. But in terms of design, they are very similar. So we have the classic bracelet that Omega actually redid for this specific model. What I like the most about it is all the links are very, very small, so the bracelet feels very fluid. And it's also pretty slim. So it will sit very nice on your wrist. It will not feel bulky or anything like that. It's just a perfect fit for your wrist and in your collection. We have a classic Speedmaster dial with also the same thing as with Breitling with faux patina. So it actually will glow in the dark, but it does look like it's aged over the time and become a little bit more yellowish. What I like specifically about this dial is layering, because all the lume layers are inside of the dials, and they have the windows in a dial that actually showcase the lume. So that gives a little bit cool texture to this specific watch. But what's the most cool about the Omega always is their movements. So what this specific timepiece have, it's this beautiful 9906 model, decorated with Geneva weaves in Arabic. Stunning timepiece and stunning movement inside of it. So you can see it a little bit closer. It's just beautiful decoration, and Omega put a lot of their efforts into creating their movements. And in my opinion, they're one of the best in the industry in doing so. So both of those models are available at SwissWatchExpo, and we'll be happy to share it with you. So if you are a Speedmaster fan or a Breitling Navitimer fan, please give us a call. We'll be happy to discuss both of those models with you and help to add them to your collection.